So, um, where are you from?
So I am from Newcastle. I grew up in a place called Westmore, just north of Newcastle.
Have you got any siblings, family, and were you raised in a normal upbringing in childhood? Just give us a little bit of background about your childhood.
Yeah,
where you were raised.
I had a great childhood. I've got a brother and a sister. My mum and dad split up when I was young. Can't really remember any of that happening though. For as long as I know my stepdad's been there, I've still been lucky because I've had two dads. But yeah, really normal childhood, really good, lots of holidays. Yeah, normal because a lot of people think that addiction and things like that all come from that people come from bad backgrounds and things like that. But that's not my story. I've been very fortunate with my upbringing.
What were you into as a kid?
Yeah, so I think I was always really intelligent at school, and I should have done far better than what I did. Very sporty, done as many sports as I could. Played tennis. I was quite good at tennis when I was younger. Football, also quite good. Played that um, all the way up until probably I was 18, 19. Um, Maybe a little bit longer, but I had to stop because of a job that I started. I became a chef, which meant that I worked Saturdays and Sundays, so I couldn't play football anymore. Um, but really, yeah, at school had. I'm waiting for an ADHD assessment. I've actually got an appointment, and I think that will basically answer quite a few questions. I couldn't really concentrate at school. Every school report was very intelligent, but doesn't concentrate long enough. I was always quite often the person at the front of the class sitting on the teacher's desk because I just used to mess about. I think that was a lot of trying people pleasing though. I was never confident in myself. I don't think I liked who I was. I was always trying to be someone else because I thought that I wasn't good enough. Um,
Does that come from parents, Reece, or does that come from just you who you are? Were you automatically thinking like that from day one?
I think, I think that was just a personality trait that I've got. Unfortunately, football, was probably the place where I was the most self-critical. If I've made a bad pass, anything like that, I could have scored 5 goals in a game. But if that one pass, then that was the focus, and it was never you did that, you did that, you did that. It was why did you do that? And that kind of it still probably lives through us now. I still haven't been able to work out. I'm a lot better at it, but I haven't perfected that anyway. But
So obviously, when you're doing your schoolwork, you're sitting down, and do you feel you beat yourself up about things a lot because you don't get it right first time?
yeah, definitely. I think with the schoolwork as well, if it was something that I had to read through for quite a long time, I struggled with that. I didn't have the concentration to read through basically a full page. And then I would get distracted and I would see everyone else doing it. And then seeing that they were doing it, I wasn't doing it. That would then be the part where I would be, well, why can't you just do it? And then that's when I would start messing about and then end up getting kicked out of the class.
So a distraction. So it's like a spiral, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
Because you can't focus on one thing and then you get obsessed about another thing and then that takes your attention away from the thing you're supposed to be doing.
exactly.
It's mad though, but we're all very similar, So how did the teachers kind of react to that? Did they help you out? Did they pull you aside? Did you get like one-to-one tuition?
None of that. I just got told off. Sent out the class, sent detention, stayed after school, put on the end of the teacher's desk so I couldn't do it, but I still managed to do it. I was never a bad kid where in a sense that I got into any real bother. They always knew it was just a little bit of messing around. But I do think like this, if I had have been taught that I looked at for ADHD when I was younger, it might have helped in some ways. But that wasn't my story, and if that assessment's on Friday, and I think it'll give me a lot of answers for why my childhood was like that, why probably what we're going to get on to has happened as well.
So relationships, obviously, you'll you know you have a good solid group of mates. Was that all fine? Did you have a girlfriend? What was there any? Were your relationships good? Were you able to kind of have relationships and things like that?
Friendships, yes. Relationships, no, because I kind of had that not feeling good enough, so I would always like sort of sabotage it.
How?
Just pretend that I was just messing about, and kind of like if I met people, be talking to them, whatever, and then I'll kind of just like do something so either they would close it off or I would just like stop. Just not be a very nice person, really.
So you feel because of like low self-esteem and stuff like that, you feel like you've had that from the off?
Yeah, pretty much. I was bullied in primary school, and then I actually bullied someone, which I really struggle with. But I think that was sort of like a how do I say it, like a coping like not a coping mechanism, but like a way to protect myself. I then done that to someone, so then that couldn't be done to me. But then in high school, year 7, I was bullied again, and I had to change high school. And after that, everything was pretty good. I changed to a school where I like a lot of the football team that I played with went, and everything got better from there. And that's when I really started messing on a lot more. And like I say, my reports were just full of very intelligent, could do a lot better, doesn't concentrate, wants to be the class clown and things like that.
Were you confused about why am I not doing it? Why am I thinking like this? Was there any doubts in your head about why?
I think it all just linked back to that low confidence. And I think a lot of that, the messing on and things like that, it was just so people liked this, so I didn't get sort of bullied again.
So it's attention, trying to fit in.
Yeah. And I was probably doing the opposite of fitting in, because I could have just been a normal kid doing my work, but then I was scared that people wouldn't like me as that person, so I pretended I was someone else, and I pretended I was someone else for a long time. Only the last probably year I've become the person that I should have been all my life.
That's strange because yeah, I've heard people say the same thing. It's you're trying to be someone else to fit in with a group of people, but if you and then you discover by being yourself, people are like you anyway. Have you found that out?
Yeah, like I say, this last year has been the best year of my life. It's been crazy, and I've done so much this last year, and a lot of it, the majority of it's all been positive, whereas the 30 years before that, it was up and down like a yo-yo.
It's kind of you're always living a life that's not you.
Yeah. I'm quite fortunate to have discovered that at 30, rather than having to wait till 40, 50 or whenever, or just constantly live that life. I've still got a lot of years ahead of us, so I can live now happy until my time comes.
So looking back with the family, do you were you like that in the house, or were you completely opposite in the house? Because obviously you don't have to try and be liked in the house because it's your family. So do you feel you could be yourself around your family, or is that the complete opposite, or did they not get you?
I think I basically just completely took that personality, the personality that I was in school. I was at home. I think I wouldn't say I was naughty, but I did like act up quite a lot, and I did make it hard for my mum, my stepdad, and and my dad as well.
So clearly you're a smart kid, you're a bright kid, and you said you could do it anyway, and you got through school. When did things start to go off the rails?
Yeah, so I guess really, when I finished school, I went and did an apprenticeship at Rolls-Royce, um, just doing welding, that sort of thing, but that didn't work out. Um, and then I worked with my dad for a few years doing landscape gardening, and then after that, I became a chef. But when I was doing the landscape gardening, I kind of, on a Friday, I would finish, I would go to the pub. Saturday, I would normally have a drink, but it was just like getting drunk with your mates. That was it. Um, when I became a chef, that was still the same, but then it gradually increased because I've seen a thing where if you're a chef, you're either addicted to coffee, drugs, smoking, or alcohol, all four. I've never liked coffee, but I've definitely had a problem with the other three. And yeah, probably I'd always took whenever I drank, I didn't just drink. I drank until I couldn't remember anything, because when I drank, I remember the first time I drank, I felt I had confidence. It did give, like when you hear people say it, that's what it gave me. It gave me a change of personality. I wasn't that person that I didn't like. I felt confident enough to be able to go and talk to girls. I and that's what I liked about alcohol. But then when I discovered I liked that person more than I did the person that I was sober, I tried to get drunk as I could every time I drank. Um, but the more drunk I got, the more trouble I caused.
And obviously you do it outside of the workplace. Did any of that filter in to every day? Did you kind of get down to that level?
Yeah, yeah. Whew, I can't exactly remember at what point, but one of my jobs I was working from, say, anywhere between 13 to 18 hours a day, and then I would finish that day, would get pints put on the pass when we're cleaning down, finishing the desserts, and then you'd have them 4 pints while cleaning down. You'd go downstairs, you'd have more. Next thing you know, it's 3, 4, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning. You go home, you get an hour's sleep, and you go back in and do it all again 6 times a week. And then on your day off, you just slept. That was my life for quite a few years, and that was the start of like being alcohol dependent.
So what was the age range then, right?
Mid-20s.
So sort of you could actually do that. You were a chef drinking and functioning all the time, every single day.
Yeah. Um, I got out of being a chef when my oldest son, when we found out he was on his way, and I just took the first job because I couldn't have been any sort of dad to doing those sort of hours. So I ended up working in a call centre, and I thought, right, well, I'm leaving the call centre. I mean, I'm leaving that industry. I'm leaving that life. I can't exactly. They're not going to bring pints into work. So I just cut the drink out. But then if I had a stressful day, I went and picked up 4 cans on the way home. The 4 cans turned to 8 cans, turned to a crate, turned to a bottle of rum. And then gradually over probably within that first year of that transition, and then when my son was born, I stopped going out as much. And then because I stopped going out as much, I started just drinking in the house more. Force arguments with my partner, so she would go to bed because she would say, "What are you drinking so fast for? You're just sitting in the house watching telly." So I would force that argument. She would go to bed, and then I could just drink at whatever pace I wanted. I would get a McDonald's or something for a guy. I would get like a Diet Coke, and I would sneak in the kitchen, pretend I'm getting sauce, and I would be pouring some half the Coke out and pouring half a bottle of rum into it, so I could pretend that I wasn't having a drink, thinking I was drinking a Diet Coke, but actually it was half rum, half Diet Coke. And that's not even like the worst of my drinking. It got worse after that. I went being August 2022, I got a job So I worked in payroll all that time from being a chef, really. I stopped being a chef up until July, and I still do it now. But in August 2022, I got this job. I had to go over to Carlisle for the training. Just before that, I'd started cutting out alcohol through the week. I got there on the first night, I had a couple of pints for my meal, and I went back up the room, and I was like, well, this is boring. I had 2 kids at the time. I was always out doing something, so I was sitting in this room with the telly, and I was like, well, this is boring. I can't sit and do this. So I went back to the bar, and I was like, well, actually, there's no one here to tell us that I can't have a drink. That first night I sat until the last orders. I was just sat at the bar, just drinking shots and stuff. I ended up being in Carlisle 3 months, and the slope was mad.
Is that because you had nobody around? Is that because you were bored? You were trying to fill your time, or you were just trying to fill a hole?
A bit of both. I was really unhappy. My mental health was in a really bad place. I was making excuses as to why my life was this bad, and that was letting us drink, because all I needed was an excuse to be able to have a drink. And I would tell myself and tell others things that probably weren't true. I thought they were true in my head, but probably weren't that true. And that enabled me to drink. And by that first night, sitting having like drinks at the bar, to the end of the 3 months where I was sitting in my room with cases of Stella, bags of cocaine, and just sitting on my own watching a movie on a fire stick, drinking and sniffing on my own. That's where it got to, and that's how I would only go and have a pint at the bar when I wanted to have a cigarette. So I'd go to have a cigarette, have a few pints, have a couple of cigarettes, back to the room, back doing that. And I just said, I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to Carlisle anymore. So I started working back in Newcastle.
So it sounds like you're trying to find a way of getting away from it. You're trying to, you understand that this is not where you want to be and you don't want to do this. So you're running away from that current position to try and find a new position to help you in a way.
Yeah, I think I knew how unhappy I was getting. I knew I was getting in a hole I was really struggling to get out of. I didn't like who I was becoming. I was very angry. I was doing things like making mistakes, and then when I was waking up from drinking, I was like, the anxiety I was getting from it, the shame, the guilt. That took us into November when I came back, and it was England's first World Cup game of that winter, and I was only meant to be going out for a couple of pints at 1 o'clock for the 1 o'clock kick-off, and my son had just started playing for Newcastle Academy. It was his second week, and I said, pick us up on the way, we'll go. And then one of the lads in the bar was like, no, stay out, we'll have a few pints now. I was like, no, I want to go to this football. He's like, well, if you haven't gone, I'll get some bags dropped off. I was like, no, I'm still going to this football, but that was in my head. So then what I done was, I kept going to the bar, I was drinking my pints quicker, I was having shots of whiskey and things like that, knowing that the more drunk I got, the more selfish I got, which then enabled me to text Charlotte and say, look, I've got too drunk, so you'll have to pick us up on the way back. And yeah, the coke got dropped off and stuff, and then I went home. 7 o'clock, picked up 4 cans on the way, and then that night I ended up throwing the clothes horse through the telly, and the telly became like my best friend, because I would spend that much time sitting downstairs on my own watching telly, drinking, that I've probably became my best friend, and one thing that I couldn't live without in my life, the telly and the drink. They went hand in hand, because I would be sitting up watching horse racing. Obviously the horse racing had finished in the UK by 10, by the time, so then I ended up getting into American horse racing, and I would sit up till 3-4 o'clock gambling on American horse racing.
So it's gone from the do you think it's the mental health that that started you to drink, or do you think it's maybe like a culture? Yeah, you go out with your mates, and then is it that chef culture because it's so hard and it's so hard work, and then the hours are long? Do you think you just need little respites, or do you think that's where you start to drink more because of the situation you were in, because of the culture, because of being a chef?
Yeah, I think the chef culture did have, like, before being a chef, it was a weekend. I'd go out on a Friday and a Saturday, and that was it. So then become a chef, and then it's like, oh well, no, it's Monday. Like, you've just had a busy day, yeah. So then that becomes normal, like, and that
Monday
created
becomes
the
Tuesday,
routine,
becomes Wednesday, becomes.
because that's the, like, especially like as a chef, your Monday and Tuesday are like everyone's weekend, because you never get a weekend off. You normally get a Monday or Tuesday off. So then the whole weekly schedule that everyone's used to, that's just torn up. It's just thrown away, and it's like, oh well, your weekend's now Monday, or it's Thursday this week, or so you never get, you don't have that Monday to Friday 9 to 5 sort of schedule. So now you what is Saturday, Sunday anymore? And that was like, that's what like end up throwing it in the works for me, I think. And
So you think it's probably been overworked and you're trying to find an escape?
I think it was because that's what I got told was normal as well. Like, I know, like, you've just worked hard, you have some BS. Anyway, well, when I got out of there, I worked hard on this Tuesday. I was dead stressed. It was a busy day. Well, actually, I'm allowed to reward myself with a drink. So that's when the 4 cans, 8 cans, it's mental, really.
But clearly you understood like you didn't want to do this because you've just had a kid and then you go, well, I can't do this anymore because I want to be a good dad. So the good in you is always trying to fight the other thing. Do you think there's always been a battle internally inside?
Yeah, and I think that's why I've always turned to drink. The drink's always been the answer, when really it was actually making everything worse, which I didn't realize at the time. Um, but yeah, I think I've always, I still am. I, I I still am in battle with myself all the time. But instead of choosing to drink, have any drugs, smoke, gamble, I've got other answers now, and it's much healthier. It's much better, and everything is better because I don't choose to do those things and I do these things instead.
So have you replaced the bad things with good things now?
Yeah,
And how much of a difference in your life is that had?
huge. I'm I'm much happier than I've ever been. I've got great people around us. My relationships are much better. Mine and my partner Charlotte, our relationship was as close to broken as it could have been, and the majority of that was because of me.
Has she stuck with you through all of this?
Yeah. We went to Portugal last month. I proposed and we got engaged. She stuck through as, yeah, she shouldn't have. And most people wouldn't have. And our relationship now is really good. Still got its bad days, like every normal relationship does, but yeah.
So she's saying you kind of going through different jobs, trying to find a way. Did you ever discuss this with her?
I didn't think I had a problem with drink. She thought I did. My mum thought I did. My mum, when I was 21, thought, yeah, said to us to go to AA.
But why was that though? Because you were just starting out, you're just young.
Yeah, I flipped my car 7 times on the Tyne Bridge. I'd been out on the Saturday night, I'd went home, had a sleep, and then realised it was Sunday service. Panicked when I realised there was no buses. It was the first week of this new job that I'd started, and a chefing job. So I ran home, jumped in my car. They followed us. My mum and my stepdad followed us. And I don't know really what happened. I don't know if I had sort of fell asleep at the wheel or just lost concentration. I was still drunk. Yeah, hit the centre reservation, bounced a few times the other way, and had to get cut out of the car by the fire brigade. I got to see my mum and stuff that day, followed us, and when they seen the Tyne Bridge was closed, my mum said, pulled up the other side, and they seen my car, well, they thought I was dead. She said, I think you've got a problem with drink. Like after it all, being drunk saved my life. Oh, because how like it makes you go floppy. I walked out of hospital absolutely fine. A few bruises, that was it. They said they couldn't believe it.
And that didn't make you stop, right?
I went AA. I wasn't ready for AA at the time. All I heard was what I wasn't. People sitting telling their stories, and I was like, I was just looking for differences. So I walked out of there going, I'm never going back there, I'm not an alcoholic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not sure at the time I was. I'm not sure, I just didn't know when to stop at the time. I wasn't really drinking through the week much or anything at that point. Drink was still a problem in my life. I can say that it definitely was a problem, but I don't think I was anywhere near ready to stop. Yeah.
It's mad that you kind of, at 21, you've rolled your car, you've just starting out as being a chef, but you continue, and then it just gets worse from there. Because clearly you're trying to find it after the job, you've had a kid, you're trying to get a better job so you're not in that culture anymore. And then you find yourself trying to, drinking at night instead because you're bored or you kind of want a little respite. So what is that? What do you think that is in you? Because you're trying to escape, you're trying to be a good guy. Do you know what I mean? You're trying to solve your own problems, and then it just keeps happening again and again. So what were you going through after the chefing? What was this kind of new job, great new start? This is going to help us out. Why go back to the drink?
I think it was because from being a chef, alcohol became a coping mechanism, and it became the answer to any emotion. So if I was stressed, I would drink. If I had a bad day, I'd drink. If I had a good day, I would drink. There was one day I pretty much ruined someone's wedding because I messed up the food. We managed to fix it and sort it, but I was close to ruining someone's wedding. That night they came and gave us drinks, and they said, I know it's been a tough day. Get them down here, and then come back tomorrow and we'll go again.
So you're being rewarded with something that you kind of would have messed up probably because you drank.
Could have been. I can't really remember the night before, but it most likely could have been. But being a chef's like any normal job, and you work really hard, and you're tired quite a lot, and putting a tiny bit of salt, putting a bit too much salt in, can ruin someone's whole wedding, and that's what nearly happened. But they knew that wasn't normally what I was like, and that's why they were like, well, you've had a tough day, but then you've had a tough day, and then alcohol becomes the answer. You have a good day, you've smashed that service there, you had some drinks. Been very stressful, we've had a really stressful, busy day today, you had some drinks. It becomes the answer to everything, like literally everything. And then I'm quite, I think the routine and because of, like I say, when that became the answer, when I got out of being a chef, when I had those days, that was still the answer, and that hadn't changed, and that's why then that became the way it did. And like I say, when my son was born and I started not going out as much, it got a lot worse from that point because I was completely isolated. I was just on my own instead of being around people where that actually picked my mental health up and stuff. I've always been quite a sociable person and things like that, but yeah, I guess the whole being in, but then I couldn't go out because I was causing like a mess when I went out, and because I was going out few and far between the times when I did go out, I would go out and I would just get absolutely like into an absolute state, and I would either come in and not be able to walk up the stairs, or be sick, or wee on the floor, whatever it be. I would always, so then Charlotte would be like, well, I don't really want you going out on Saturday. I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. So then I would just continue back in that cycle of drinking every day in the house on my own.
So you just kind of function around life, aren't you? And do you have 2 kids then as well?
So my daughter was born in January 21. My son, the first son, was in January 2018. And we got to a little bit before about when that day when I missed his football. So then smashed the telly. That next morning I woke up with loads of shame and guilt. I couldn't cope with it anymore. I was eating away at us, and I texted one of my best mates who lives in Australia. But he googled AA meetings. He was like, right, you're going out tonight. You're going to share my AA meeting. I was like, oh, I'd have been happy with that. Yeah, I said, I knew I'd experienced it once before. I was like, I'm not an alcoholic, that's not for me. He was like, just go. And I spoke to Charlotte. She was like, yeah, I think you should go. I was like, right, I'll go. And then I can say I've been, and then that'll shut them up a little bit. And I went in it like the person speaking may as well have been like describing me and speaking about me. And I remember thinking, I surely paid someone to come in and do this. That's what I was. That's how mental it all is. Like, I'm like, I surely paid someone to go in here. Well, obviously you can't pay someone to go into a room, like any of the rooms and stuff like that. But
So close to how you were.
yeah,
You thought somebody had actually been paid to talk about that story
yeah,
to help you, to kind of
yeah.
help you stop.
That was that's where my mind went, because it was trying to tell us, don't listen to these people because they want you to stop drinking. I was like, so then it's like, all right, so Charlotte's actually paid someone to come and do this, so I shouldn't listen. But then I spoke to people afterwards, and I was like, you know, I'm going to come back here. So I came back. I managed to stay sober for 3 weeks, and then I relapsed. And then over the next 4 months, it was just, I think the longest I probably done was 2 to 3 weeks.
So what's it like when you relapse then, Reece? Do you drink more because of the guilt and shame of you relapsing?
Not always. I think this was the problem with some of my relapses. I was actually able to be more sensible than I've ever been while I was trying to, when I was drinking, well, as a normal person. Sometimes I would have 10 pints, and at half 10 I would go home. Well, not go home, because, well, what used to happen was I would kind of lie and say I wasn't drinking, but then my stepdad, no matter which pub I hid in, he would find us, he'd walk through the door, like, how? I've like hid as best I could, picked a pub that was really quiet, well out of the way, and he found us, and what I would do is I would take like a pillow, and I would get some cans, and I would put them in my car, and I would plan to like sleep in the car park, so I didn't drink drive, because I've never drunk drugs since that incident, and I never wanted to, but I didn't know where I would end up staying if I just got myself to the pub. So I would take the car and have like a little sort of, like, make it into a little bed type thing, but I would have the cans there for when the pub closed, and I would just drink until I fell asleep.
So you would sleep in the car?
No, because my stepdad would end up finding us. He would take the car home, and then he would go, do you want picked up? And then I knew he had work, so I would say, well, can you pick us up at 10:30? Or if I just went to the pub that was right next to our house, he would walk through the door, go, gives you your car keys, I'd give him your car keys, he would drive back, and he'd like, do you want us to come back and get you out of here? No, I'll just come back for about 10ish, and then I just walked off and just left the pub at 10 o'clock, which I could never do, and I would be reasonably sober. That made us think that the breaks that I was having were curing us, and I could drink like a normal person now.
Yeah, because you're in a pub, so everyone's in the pub.
Yeah, and then like through this whole time as well, like they said, if you're trying to stop alcohol, don't stop the other things. So I was still gambling. I gambled every day on horse racing. 50, 100 quid on race on a horse. Cheltenham came around, just daft money. Like, if you had a good day gambling, made you want to have a drink. If you had a bad day gambling, made you want to have a drink. I was still smoking, and the smoking kind of goes hand in hand with drinking. I'd stopped twice for 6 months, and then on a night out, I ended up smoking again. And then when I got to a certain point of being drunk, that's when I could end up getting like drugs and stuff.
So they kind of came hand in hand.
Yeah, all four of them were just, yeah. If I'd had a bad day on horse racing, that could turn us to drink. And then the drink could turn us to the drugs, but the smoking was always the one in the middle. That was the constant. It was only ever cocaine that I would have. Yeah, I got quite a bit of shame about that, especially in some of the relapses.
And why is that, Reece?
So my third last relapse. It was my daughter's birthday. It was Newcastle's second semi-final against Southampton.
How long ago was this?
It was 2023. 31st of January 2023. Sorry. Yeah, 23. It's my daughter's second birthday. We had a lovely day through the day, but I'd relapsed the week before when Newcastle won the first semi-final, and then I decided I was going to drink on the second, but I said, look, I'll not go to the pub, I'll just get myself 8 cans, I'll drink them, and then I'll go to bed, and that'll be it. Watched the match. Newcastle got the final. We had a great day. Isabella had went to bed. She had a lovely day. I had the 8 cans. The match had finished. I was absolutely buzzing. One of my mates came over, got a daily drink. He picked up a packet on the way, and we were sat in the kitchen like on slots and all sorts. We lost a few £100 in the space of half an hour, if that. Sniffing coke on the kitchen bench. Just 2 kids upstairs. Charlotte was pregnant at this time as well with the child. And again, that next night, Charlotte ended up hearing when I got another daily drink. She heard the van door shut, she came out. My mate was on his way out the door putting his shoes on. He was like, and she was coming towards us, and I had this carrier bag of cans, and she just whacked the bag. These cans, it wasn't in a case or anything, so they were just rolling about the floor. She's like opening and tipping them out, going, what are you doing? It's 3 o'clock, you're at work in the morning. And all I could think about was, I've just spent 50 quid on these 14 cans, as I don't tip them out. So she's starting to tip them out, and I'm just trying to drink them. By this point, my mum and stepdad were on the way. They were at work. They'd been woke up. The kids were awake, crying. And yeah, like that next day, again, that shame and that guilt that I woke up with. I said, like, I went back to AA the next night. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm completely fed up. I really wanted to stop, and I did want to stop this whole time. But I think I was stopping for my kids and Charlotte. I don't think I ever was like, I don't even know how to put it, but there was something stopping me from stopping. I managed to do like, I think it was 25 days sober, and then this Thursday at work, the 2 women in the office were like, oh, it's been such a stressful day, I can't wait for a wine. Said numerous times, and then like I ended up walking past the Metro and straight into a bar, had 2 pints, went back to the pub, and sat in there. And because I drank on that Thursday, Newcastle were playing in the final on the Sunday, so I said, well, because I drank then, I'm going to drink then. And that day, went to the pub, drinking whiskey, shots of whiskey. Newcastle got beat, got picked up. I took 4 cans. home with us had there when I was like, stuff I'm going to the pub. I said like, I always got loads of anxiety when I was running out of drink. And I went to the pub, had a pint, and my mum had met us when I was on my way. She tried to like say, why do you need to have a drink? And I couldn't explain it, I just said I do. Charlotte had tried, and I ended up walking on the train tracks. I'd completely had enough. And I was stood in the train tracks. I'd text Charlotte, said my goodbyes. Text me mates and that and said goodbyes and things like that. And Charlotte had rang my mum. My mum had managed to pick up the phone on the crossing and get the train stopped. I only came off the train tracks when I seen a train coming at like a crawling speed towards us. And like the police came out and stuff because I'd stopped the trains. They said they were going to refer us to the crisis team. They didn't. Crisis team, we referred ourselves, well, Charlotte referred us to the crisis team. They came out. They said it was just to do a drink, which it wasn't. It was never to do it. It was like my mental health had just got so bad within those 4 months because I didn't have my coping mechanism. I couldn't cope with stressful days. I couldn't cope with happy days, sad days, any day. I didn't have that drink to finish the day. So all these different emotions that I wasn't used to having to cope with, that's what took my mental health down to that point. Sorry. Yeah.
Is that the point where things turned around, Reece?
Yeah. Not straight away. Took probably about 9-10 weeks, but I'd reached out for help. There was no help available really.
So what was the one thing that started the help? What one thing? Because it must have been something that got you.
Yeah. So there was two key moments. One was I'd already signed up for Manchester Marathon. I decided I was going to do it. Set myself a goal of under 4 hours, but I hadn't been running this whole time. I'd done 4 hours and 3 minutes, I think. I seen that as a massive failure. Took us to a dark place. A couple of weeks after that was my 30th. Me and Charlotte went to Rock the Fall. And the whole time I was stopping, it was like, right, well, this is coming up, this is coming up. I'm 30. How am I going to not drink? But I went to Rock the Fall and had a few zeros and had a nice meal and we had a nice time. And it was like, oh, you can actually do stuff, not have to drink and still have a nice time. And a couple of days after that, I'd done a David Goggins 4 mile every 4 hours for 48 hours. And when I finished that, it was like a flick of the switch. Mental health went from there to the best it had been in a long time. From that day, realised running has to be the one constant in my life, and it has been. This year I've done probably more miles than I've ever done before. I've done, well, by the end of this year I would have done 5 ultra marathons, 2 marathons, number of half marathons, 10Ks, along with a couple of other challenges. I've done David Goggins 4 miles challenge, but I changed it to 10K. So a few weeks ago I did 10K every 4 hours for 48 hours. There was about 25 who were running along the coast for me last one, Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock. And it was just mad. Like, so it was horrendous, the challenge. Absolutely horrible. But what I've learned from these challenges is that it makes me want to quit. My mind's telling me, just quit, just stop it. There's no point in doing it. And when I finish, it's like, it's like mental training. That's what like these big horrible challenges are. It's just constant mental training. And yeah, like it is crackers, like the different things I've achieved this year with running. Did Ben Nevis ultramarathon a couple of weeks ago. Great on Front last week. I've got Scafell Pike in 2 weeks, and Snowdon 2 weeks after that. And that'll be the end of the ultra marathons for this year. Not be the end of running though, but it's became so important. And I've had a little bit of period where I've sort of fell out of love with running a little bit because of how much it was taken out of these big events, so I didn't have the energy to train and things like that. But instead, I've got back into football a little bit. Because I'm probably the fittest I've ever been, I'm playing at the highest level I have in 15 years, which is mental. I'm 31, I should be starting to ease it down, but family life, my son, he plays football for Newcastle Academy, Sunderland Academy, and Wallsend Boys Club. I coach his Wallsend Boys Club team. I'm the assistant and have great that for the coaches. I spend time with the kids as men, they're all great kids, and my life's chaos. It really is. Work all day, then football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, swimming on Thursday, football Friday. He's got a match this later on, and then football on a Sunday. But that, with doing things like this, sharing my story, I volunteer for different charities. I do speaking events, I do podcasts. So the three main things for me are running, sharing, and family. Friendship, well, family, connection, and friendships. Because without a group of friends that I've got now and the support that they give me, I don't think I would still be sober. Because there's been a lot happening this last year as well, which could have cracked us, and it nearly has a couple of times.
Like what?
Work. I had to put my notice in on my job without having a job to go into, because it was having that bad an effect on my mental health that I nearly relapsed twice in a month. And one of them, I was actually I'd found a bottle of champagne, an old bottle of champagne that had been hid somewhere, and when I found it, I opened it up. I went and sat in the bathroom floor, the bottle open, sitting there, and I'm sat in my vape with the window open. I was like wanting to grab it. Instead, I put a message in the group chat, and I think there's 12 votes in it. Within 5 minutes, I'd had 6 missed calls, and I was on the phone to one person, and I had loads of text messages. Reece, answer the phone now, pick up, or ring us back. And speaking to Chris Biscuit, and he was like, oh, what are you going to achieve by doing that? What's that going to do? And he said a lot of different things, and there was one I really need. I need to ask him which one, what the thing was, because it helped us a lot, and I ended up just pouring it down the toilet. But that's like the support. Like I say, family life, that's improved massively.
So where did you meet the people in the group?
Yeah, so it was the 27th of August last year. I went to Ice Guys for the first time. I'd bought a tub. I couldn't get in. One of my legs would go up, and it's too cold. So I thought, right, I'm going to go to Ice Guys. I just found out about it, and it took us to help us get in. And then one of the lads, I went, I wish someone could get a picture, because there's no way anyone's going to believe I've done this. Charlotte will definitely not believe it. Well, one of the lads went, there's a lad called Craig over there, the one with the beard. He's got his phone, go and ask him to get a picture. And I went and spoke to Craig, Trev, Lee was there, and Richie. I think it was just them for that day. But they took a picture, and then we ended up having a conversation from then. I was like, what? Like they were a lot deeper into their recovery and stuff. That day I'd been and ran 6 miles before the dip, because I was 6 months sober. And I'd only just stopped smoking, and I'd only just stopped gambling. But like, if it wasn't for buying the tub in my house, not being able to do it, and then going there, might never have met them. I couldn't be any more pleased that I have, and I think they all know that.
Yeah, because it's finding a group of like-minded people, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
that must be a relief as well to go, some people who get us, some people who understand us.
yeah.
What's that like?
Hey, we had a little chat before they started. It was like people don't understand unless you've been through it, and a lot of them have been through it, and they know what to say if you're struggling. You know, like Charlotte tries to understand it the best she can, and she'll never understand it fully, but she tries. But sometimes she'll say something, and I'm like, once it's all like, say like she said something that she thinks is trying to help, but then I'll be like afterwards when it's like it's all done and dusted and forgotten about it. Don't say that again. That made us want to go and have a drink. And she'll be like, oh, I didn't even realise that. It'll be something about the pub, like, oh, well, what's it going to achieve? Go to the pub. Like, I don't know, it can be anything, but some things in my brain link to what I used to do, and I'll always have them links. And sometimes, like, she'll say something without realising that links that thing. Whereas they kind of know and understand, like, that, like, the things to say and what it's going to achieve if I go and do these things and all the work I've put in. I've put myself about far too much, and I share my story to a lot of people. I work with like addiction charities, I work with suicide prevention charities and things like that now to try and fundraise. I do all my mad challenges for raising money for charities. So
I do think that people who've been through it have got the experience to talk about it. And if you're talking to somebody who's going through it, you know by 3 words you can just get it, and you know the rhythm, and you know because you can put yourself in that situation because you've been there before. And I think that's what's good about people like yourself reaching out, talking about your problems, because somebody out there will go, well, yeah, I've done all of those stories. It's kind of, yeah. So what do you find about sharing? I mean, what has it given you sharing? Why do you want to share your story?
I think the first time I'd done it, it was more sort of like, there's no point, of gone through everything that I've gone through to sit on it on my own. That was where it started. And then after the first time I shared my story, the amount of people that reached out and told us about what they had been struggling with, and they were trying to stop drinking and loads of different things. And I was like, well, it could actually like make a difference if I like keep doing things. So I've done loads of podcasts, and actually the longer I've done it, the more I realised it helps me to lighten like sort of my burden, my load. And I know I've hurt a lot of people in the past as well. So all I'm trying to do now is to try and kind of like help people as well. And by, like I said, like the sharing, the running, the family, the connection, friendships, they're the things that keep me sober and keep me not gambling. So if I stop doing them, I wouldn't like to think what would happen. But I can't take that risk. I've just got to keep doing these things. And like with props on the charities, like I speak to the families of the person in addiction, and that's to give them hope that their loved one can get out of the addiction. Like, if you care, share. We've just filmed, me and my son filmed an advert for their Inside Out campaign. That's a memory I'll live with my son for the rest of my life. And if that can help someone to pick up the phone or to speak to someone instead of just sitting with it. I found out someone I knew was one of my friends, his best friend, took their own life a couple of weeks ago, and he reached out and he asked us if I would be able to have a chat with him after the funeral and things, but also if I could share the crowdfunding page, because they were really struggling to pay for the funeral. So I shared that, And then I've asked if he's asked if we can have a chat about different like places that family members can get help. If I hadn't shared my story, and that he would have never messaged me. It gives people an option of being able to speak to us because they know what I've went through when I didn't really know nothing about it, and I didn't get a lot of support from the NHS. The crisis team didn't really help loads, and then the waiting list was 9 to 12 months. I hung up every time I heard that because in my head I wouldn't have been here 9 to 12 months if I was sitting on that waiting list. So I had to do it by myself, and that's why I just cancelled everything. I still haven't really had, I get support through Epic Restart Foundation. I've got a mentor, and that's amazing. But yeah, it's without sharing, it just lightens the load. It helps us to take away some of that hurt I've caused and to turn it into a positive.
Then a last point, just to give a message to somebody out there who's struggling, who, just a little bit of wisdom from you.
I think the most simple one is that it doesn't last forever. Whatever you're going through now, that's not going to be like the story in a couple of months' time. It doesn't have to be. It takes work. It does take work, but if you work on yourself, things will get better. Like I say, without that one run challenge I did, then who knows where I'd be sat now. But you've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to get to a place where you want to be. But you've got to speak up. You've got to lighten your load as well. You can speak to anyone. If you don't feel comfortable with speaking to anyone, you can, I know if you care share, I've got a helpline that you can call. There's now the new 111 service, which has got the helpline, which I think could be amazing. Speak to someone, tell them, ask them to go for a coffee, just, ask someone else. But lighten that load, that's what's weighing you down. Once you've lightened that load, that'll start to be where you get into a good place. But push them boundaries. I would say that you've got to push boundaries. You do have to work hard on yourself. And I've constantly got to work. Because if I don't, my mental health's up and down. And I've got to work harder when it's down. But sometimes I don't. And I can feel it just going further down. Sea dips, trying the ice guys. That's helped me unbelievable amounts. I still struggle every time I've got to get in the sea. Every time I struggle in my tub. It's now down to not much water because I can't be able to clean it out because I'm scared I can't get in. But yeah, I think that's got to be the main message. You've got to really push your boundaries. You've got to push yourself out your comfort zone. Because once you start challenging your brain and your brain tells you you should quit, probably when you're at 45% capacity, it tells you, but you can push your body so much more. Once you get that finish line, that's a big win, and you'll feel that big win.
Perfect, Reece. That was fantastic.